Hello fellow YouTubers, it's me Tom Versal here and welcome back to the Music Corner. Although we're not at the Music Corner today, I rarely get to film now, so it's very late at night and I'm downstairs. Sorry, I'm just adjusting the camera because it keeps moving. I'll have to do it up here. But yes, today we are going to be doing another discography ranking video, and this time it's going to be Depeche Mode. This was one of my girlfriend's favourite bands and she told me about them, but for a while I weren't listening to them, and then eventually one day I just randomly thought of them and decided, you know what, let's go for it, and ordered their first few albums off eBay. And I listened to their albums chronologically, and yeah, they're a great band. Anyway, let's not make this a long video because I've run out of memory and this has to be short. Let's just get into it. So up at number 14, my least favourite album and the worst Depeche Mode album for me has to go to Exciter. This one to me I just felt was very bland and boring, and that's the issue with it. I felt like it doesn't have an interesting cover art, but it's okay. I just don't like it that much. The name's weird, Exciter, and there's too many songs, 13 songs. One weird thing though is the last song, Goodnight Lovers. Dave has a really high vocal, which is something you never hear from Dave. I just don't like this record too much. It was very bland, very boring, very mundane, and just a hard one to sit through. It's the only Depeche Mode album where I listened to half the album, took a break for a few weeks, and then came back to it. I just didn't like it too much. I felt it was boring. Next up, we have Delta Machine. This one is sort of similar, but I felt like this album was better. It was from 2013, so probably her first 2010s album. It's an okay album overall. I don't think it's a terrible album. Some songs on here, like Welcome to My World, Heaven, Soothe My Soul. There's a few good songs on here, but these just didn't click with me. Maybe they'll take a few re-listens, but right now I think these albums are pretty boring, and this one is up at number 13. Next up, I went with Sounds of the Universe, and again, similar to Delta Machine, there's nothing horribly wrong with this album, but it's just a snooze fest, you know. It's not as boring as the other two, that's why it's higher, but it has some cool space sounds to it, some cool, like, spacey sounds to it, and cool synths. But overall, I just felt like it was a boring album, pretty tedious to sit through, pretty lackluster, and nothing special going on with this record. It's a shame, really, but you know, that's just what it is. And up at number 11, we have Plain Angel. Plain the Angel wasn't really a bad album. It was one that I enjoyed a lot more than the other ones that I've mentioned. But it's still got a lot of those songs that I just don't feel click with me. The first few songs on here, A Pain That I'm Used To, John Revelator, Suffer Well, The Sinner in Me, Precious, they're all brilliant. Then it drops off for a bit. And then Lillian and The Darkest Star are good songs, to be honest. But overall, this record almost makes it to being okay, good album, but it just sort of, it's bland and it's not really anything special. The good songs on here don't match Depeche Mode standards, in my opinion. Into my top 10 now, we have Spirit. This one is more along the lines of this as well, and I expected to hate this album because I knew it was a lot more political, and a lot of other people have hated this album so much. But I actually felt it was decent. It wasn't anything special, and it wasn't anything horrible at the same time. This is sort of a meh, mixed album. Going Backwards was great. Where's the Revolution is great. Scum is awesome. You Move is good. Cover Me was the best song on the album for me. I've just loved that. I can go back and listen to that. And then the rest of the album's just sort of passed by. It's really Side A, that's great. But same issue, a lot of the tracks are just bland, boring soundscapes that are sort of synth rocky, sort of electronica soundscapes that I'm just not really into. And it's a very angry political record. probably their most political, probably their angriest. Yeah, it's an okay album. Definitely far better than the ones I've mentioned so far, but it's nothing grand or special. Next up, I've gone with Ultra. This is their first album after Alan Wilder left, and I felt like they struggled a bit later on with Alan Wilder's departure, but at this point they were still okay. A lot of the songs on here were great, a few to mention is Barrel of a Gun, The Love Thieves, Home. They're just the perfect three starting songs. But again, it just didn't click with me, but it is a lot better than the ones I've mentioned so far. And that ends sort of the meh realm of Depeche Mode for me. Every album after this is good, but the ones I've mentioned so far are the meh albums, and ironically, it's all the newer albums. I hope that their next album's great. Next up, I've gone with Songs of Faith and Devotion. I expected to love this record, and I still do like it, but I think it's the weakest good Depeche Mode album. And a lot of people put it at number one, and I totally understand. It's a very gloomy, dark album, very eerie to listen to. You could probably tell right from the cover that it's dark and eerie, but it's a good record. It's a good record. Every song on here is awesome, but I felt like there's better records that they've done, and that's the only reason it's at this point. But I still think I Feel You is amazing. Walking in My Shoes is one of their greatest, in my opinion. Mercy in You and In Your Room are also brilliant. I do love this record. Next up, we have another one I expected to love, but just didn't grasp me as much, Music for the Masses. When I first heard this, I didn't get it, and that's been the same case for a few of their albums. Because it felt like they were trying to combine darkness with pop, and they were, but this one's a lot more arena pop. Like, this is sort of the songs that they would keep on the live set list forever, like Sacred, Never Let Me Down Again, Strange Love, Behind the Wheel. And I was pretty right in thinking that, because I think they do play those songs live all the time. It does sound like a record that they made just for the live shows rather than a record, but it's still a good album. I think the songs I've mentioned are great. Things You Said is good. Little 15 is a fan favourite, but it's not really one of my favourites. I do think Sacred is the best song on the album, though. Then we have Violator. Man, what an album. What an album. This is where they really thought quality over quantity. And there's only 9 songs here. There's not even 10. There's not even 5 aside. It's just 9 songs, 9 perfect pieces of music. World in My Eyes, Sweetest Perfection, Personal Jesus. Halo is insanely underrated. My favourite song on this record, I think, is Blue Dress. I just think it's a beautiful, awesome song. Waiting for the Night is also just lovely. But I think this album, you all know how good it is. It's a lot of people's favourite for a reason, and definitely one you should get into if you've not heard this album. Definitely a must-have. Right, now we're into the top 5 for me. Number 5, A Broken Frame. Just look at that cover art alone. That automatically would put it in my top 5. Just kidding, it's obviously content. But the cover art is just stunning. This album, though very mixed, very weird and very strange, it doesn't really flow as well as it could do if it adds some B-sides on it. If it dropped The Meaning of Love and A Photograph of You and replaced it with Now This Is Fun and Oberkorn, then it would be perfect. They're still good songs, The Meaning of Love and A Photograph of You, but I just don't think they flow with the album better than the other songs I've mentioned do. But this one's very experimental, very weird, and, Monument and Satellite shouldn't have done that. They're very strange songs, but I love it. This is an amazing album, and I've just ordered this on vinyl actually. I can't wait to receive that. Up at number 4, we have their debut, the only album with Vince Clarke in it. This Speak and Spell, I don't care what you say, that is a brilliant cover art. A lot of people hate it, but I think it's just an amazing photo. It's not a painting actually, it's a photo. Every song here except What's Your Name is amazing. They could have took What's Your Name out and put Ice Machine on, and it would have been even stronger. Every song here, I know Depeche Mode are a dark, depressing band usually, but this one is one that's really happy, really chipper, and really fun. And if there's one album you want to put on at a club, it's got to be this one, because you will just get everyone dancing. New Life is stunning synth pop genius. Puppets is weirdly sexy and just so fun to listen to. Photographic is creepy and eerie. Tora 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 is just insane. Any Second Now Voices is beautiful. It's a beautiful synth pop ballad, which is really crazy to hear, but man, what an album, and what one to debut with. And every song here except Tora 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 and Big Muff were written by Martin Gore, were written by Vince Clarke. So, Vince Clarke, I commemorate you. Top 3 now. Up at number 3, Construction Time Again. This one is highly underrated in my opinion, because I think a lot of people listened to their first album and they thought, well, this is a great happy album. They listened to A Broken Frame and they're like, no, this one's a great sad album. And well, not sad, but gloomy. And then you get to this and you don't know what to think. And for me, it's very, very industrial. It's industrial synth pop at its finest. Alan Wilder was now in the band, and he contributed 2 songs on here, I think, 2 Minute Warning and The Landscape is Changing. And those songs are just genius. And every other song on here, except Pipeline. Well, Pipeline is a genius song in theory, but it's not a great one to listen to outside of the album. If I'm listening to the album, I listen to Pipeline, but if I'm not listening to the album, I always skip it. But I love Told You So. Told You So is one of the best Depeche Mode songs. Everything Counts is brilliant. 2 Minute Warning is so underrated, and so is Shame. Every song here is just fucking amazing. Up at number 2, we have Black Celebration. Now, this album is just so tense and dark and gloomy. When I first heard it, I didn't actually get it. I didn't grasp it. But then, after a few listens, it clicked. And this is just... I can't praise this album enough. There's no bad songs here. Fly on the Windscreen is just so eerie and creepy but sexy at the same time. Black Celebration is just tense and atmospheric. Question of Lust is amazing. One that often gets overlooked, in my opinion, is Here Is the House. And I love Here Is the House. This whole album, this whole fucking album, the title, the singing, the music, the atmosphere, the cover, everything about it is astonishing. I love this record. Amazing stuff. And finally, up at my number 1 spot, and I can't praise this album just enough, Some Great Reward. Oh man, this album I just had to own on vinyl. It is just fucking brilliant. And again, just like Black Celebration, it took a few re-listens for me to really like. Now I just appreciate them so much more. I love this record to bits. There's no bad songs here at all. I love Something to Do. It's so eerie and crazy and makes you feel like you're going insane. It's brilliant. Lie to Me is a good disco song. I can imagine that being in an 80s nightclub. It's just so aesthetic. People Are People is honestly my least favourite song on the album, even though it's a single, which is probably why, but it's such an important single, so experimental. it doesn't matter. It makes me cry, makes me want to cry, and I love it. Doesn't matter. It's beautiful. Stories of Old is amazing. The bits where it goes just like that, it's just so powerful. I love it. And I'm going to talk about the whole of side B, but you all know Master and Serpent, and if you want, Alan Wilder wrote that, and I hate to sound Alan Wilder fanboy, but really, that song is my favourite Depeche Mode song, I believe. It's so insane and so. It just makes you feel like you're going insane. I love those songs like Something to Do, Photographic, Told You So, Monument. I just love those songs where it makes you feel tense and sort of anxiety. Just makes you feel like you're going insane. And this record really does that to you. And it's a very dark record too. And Blasphemous Rumours, the final track, which is nearly 7 minutes, is powerful, eerie, and so fucking true. What an album, what a record. Go listen to Some Great Reward. Go listen to any of these top 5, top 6. Just, Depeche Mode, what a band. So, there we have it. My Depeche Mode album rankings. Please, in the comments below, leave your list, because all their albums sound different. Every album sounds different, and I'm so interested to hear everyone else's list, so please leave in the comments below your opinion. Don't target me. These are opinions. We're allowed to have opinions, much to what you may think. It's sad, but we are, and yes, I love Depeche Mode's music. And there we go. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed. Stay epic.